Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, live and direct from BZ Sierra Nevada Airy in occupied California, doing the job the American media maggots won't, featuring right thinking from a left brain, working without a net and under an assassination order. Here is the bloviating Zeppelin.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome, 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 one and all. Already the chat room is filling up. Don't be late. Get here too. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back tonight. It's going to be Angel, who is your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them, and of course, the lava lamp is on right over there to my left, your right, indicating that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. Go to shrmedia.com to enter the chat room. Tons of broadcasting all over the place. I only inhabit the SHR Media chat room. Please go there. Also, what that tells you is that you can listen, and also you can watch the show on the SHR Media YouTube channel, on the SHR Media Facebook page, and also we have picked up, or excuse me, I should say, we have been picked up by Big Sarge Media, where we are simulcasting and streaming right now at Big Sarge Media on Facebook, courtesy of Big Sarge himself. So thank you ever so kindly for that. I gotta tell you this, however, folks, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. We're going to have a really great show tonight. And it's my bad for having not done this before. It's been a while since we have talked to this gentleman. And instead of going on sort of a scattergun approach as I've done in the past, while monitoring some social media, I came across Ralph Chittims once again, who Reverend Ralph Chittims. I last had Ralph on, and I say, my bad for not having Ralph back on. I had him in, I think, March of last year. So it's been over a year and 3 months since I've had Ralph on. And he is going to be here tonight in the first hour. And what we're going to do is basically concentrate on the Equality Act of 2019, which, like unfortunately many federal acts, is terribly misnamed, as the ACA was under Obama, the Affordable Care Act, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And the Equality Act of 2019 doesn't have really, when you think about it, a lot of equality in it. So you have to ask yourself, folks, you should do this at least a couple of times a day. When was, I query you all, when was the last time that a leftist, a Democrat, proffered you more freedom than you've had before? Fewer regulations, less intrusive government. And I think you know the obvious answer to that is, well, it's been probably, 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years, a number of decades, etc. So I know he's on the line. I'd like to welcome, let's just get on with it, so to speak, Welcome back to Ralph Chittums Sr. We haven't heard from you in a long time. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
Exquisite. Thank you very much for being here tonight. How we got here is this. And I really enjoy having black conservatives on the show, if for no other reason, as I've said before, to indicate that, yes, there is such a person. They really do live. These are not figments of your imagination. These are real people not conjured out of BZ's brain housing group. But as I came across Ralph, and I'm going to go into Ralph's CV here in a little bit, and then we'll get chugging along. Because, Ralph, I got to tell you, sir, I have a ton of stories tonight on this topic and issue that are related that I would love to have you weigh in on and opine on.
Oh, I think I can do that.
I believe you can. I believe you're the right man for the show. Well, let's start at the start. The first thing I want to do is introduce Ralph himself, so it would be remiss of me to not say, Ralph Chittums, where can people find you on social media and or websites that you'd like to let people know about?
Well, I would like to send people to Reformed, a 501c4 called Urban Red. So check out the website, urbanred.org. And then on Facebook, URB, RED. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, in an email, just send an email to info, I-N-F-O, @urbanred.org. And we can chat a little bit more about Urban Red later.
Okay. All righty. I'm looking, I knew that you were going to say that because I started scouting around for your social media. So I want to repeat this again, folks. Urban Red, all one word, urbanred.org. And if I'm not mistaken, here we go. There's an about page right there, a Meet the Founder page, endorsements, speaking engagements, any number of things about that. Ralph is also on Twitter. Let's see.
The same thing, URBRED.
URBRED on Twitter.
Right, Herb Red, right.
Herb Red. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I also found you. Are you still in consulting with Black Elephant Consultants?
Yep, that's multiple income streams. That's how you have to do it these days.
Listen, sir, I am all about you and all about promoting you and cross promotion, etc. Because if I can't promote you, then who the heck can? But before we rip into this, I do, and the reason I'm going to do this is because I'm on an entirely new network, Ralph Chittums, and there are some people guaranteed that have never heard you before on the show. And you have a rather lengthy CV of places you've been, things you've done, etc. Let's see. You're an at-large member of the District of Columbia in Washington. Now, you ran as a conservative in D.C.
Right. I ran for an at-large seat on the D.C. Council this past election cycle. I didn't win, but we won simply because my presence forced the entire conversation from a policy perspective to the right. And even the Democrats and the independents who were in the race, by the time election night came, they all started to sound like me. And now we can hold their feet to the fire on those conservative principles that they claimed during the election cycle and force them to actually enact them now that they've been elected.
I think that's an absolutely perfect thing. I am a great supporter. I had her on the show about 3 weeks ago. Shannon Wright is running for mayor of Baltimore.
Absolutely.
So I support her on that. Just in general, can you give people a bit of your background, education, some of the things that you've done? There are so many, but I'd like to maybe have you hit the high points of the things that you've
Okay.
done and obtained.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in New York City. Came to Washington, D.C. to go to Howard University, where I received an undergraduate degree in political science. Since then, I've earned a Master of Arts in Biblical Studies from the Maple Springs Seminary and a Master of Divinity from the Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary. I served 2 terms, 4 years as the Senior Vice Chairman of the D.C. Republican Party. I am the husband of 1 wife. I'm 36 years. We have 4 children, 1 beautiful granddaughter, and I live in the swamp. I live in Washington, D.C., a mile from the Capitol.
Wow. You are literally within viewing distance of the Capitol building itself.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
For those of you who have never been in D.C., and Ralph Chittims, you tell me if I have this correct. D.C., I worked there briefly when I worked for the FBI. And the FBI building, the headquarters is in D.C. When I first got there, the initial thing that impressed me and kind of depressed me simultaneously was that Washington, D.C. was like the strangest schizoid person that I've observed in literally years. You can, if you're a tourist, do all the touristy things, look at the White House, go through the Capitol, go through all the monuments, go to the Smithsonian. But then, if you step 1 or 2 blocks away from all of this, it's like the real D.C. emerges. It's as if there's an invisible curtain saying, okay, this is all the stuff that tourists go to see, but literally just a couple of blocks away, you can walk into very, very serious poverty and people that are in need of solutions. It's like in the span of literally 1 block, this occurs. I thought D.C. was the strangest, most schizoid kind of city I'd been to in quite some time.
It really is a tale of 2 cities. It really is, because you're correct. There's the federal center, the federal enclave, and tourists can come into D.C. and hang out and go to the monuments and the restaurants and go downtown and shop and never actually see the residential part, what we would call the native D.C. part.
Yes.
You'll never see it. The first time I came to D.C., it was a tourist in 1976, and I never saw residential D.C. And I thought I had seen D.C., but the tour bus drivers know how to take the tourists around so that you only see the federal part and you never see the residential part.
Yes, which is every bit, if not more important to see. Yeah, it's fun being a tourist, but there's so much more to the story when D.C. and the environs surrounding D.C. feature some of the most expensive real estate in the entire country. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars a month to rent an apartment like AOC does near D.C. And yet you have people that are the actual residents that need help, etc., that seem to be kicked to the curb. That's what I mean. It's the strangest, most schizoid city I'd seen in quite some time.
But understand the people to whom you're referring, the local people, the people who need help, understand very clearly that their situation is not caused by the federal government. So their situation, their impoverishment, the awful school system, we can't lay that at the feet of Trump. We couldn't lay it at the feet of Obama. We couldn't lay it at the feet of any president. That has to be laid at the feet of the Democrats who have been running this city since this city was granted home rule.
Yes.
That's whose fault that is.
And that would be true.
The federal government is the local Democrats.
that would be true essentially of any major city today. There may be a few exceptions, Ralph Chittims, of a major city that's run by a Republican. Offhand, off the top of my head, none immediately come to mind.
Well, I mean, there have been cities like New York that have had Republican mayors, but when you talk about, over the decades, I can't think of any major urban city in the United States of America that has had sustained Republican leadership.
Absolutely correct.
Sustained.
Yes.
Right.
And we are watching. You and I, Ralph Chittims, we are direct witness and directly involved in what was at one time in the mid-'60s, according to LBJ, the Great Society. Thank you, LBJ, for essentially killing the once nuclear black family, as I want to say. It's just, it becomes very frustrating. We cannot lose faith. It just becomes frustrating. Now, let's stop right there. Let's migrate on, because already I'm almost 20 minutes into the show, and I want to get into the teeth of the matter, and that's the Equality Act of 2019. And that is specifically why I wanted you here tonight. Folks, if you want to get on your favorite search engine and go look for H.R. 5, the Equality Act of 2019 has I want to emphasize this. The Equality Act of 2019 has passed the House. According to Pelosi, it's the best thing since sliced bread. Just be mindful of the fact that it needs to go to the Senate next, but the House has embraced it as much as they possibly can. I'd like to start the show tonight, Ralph Chittims, with an article from starparker.com. I came across this in the process of looking for your input with regard to the Equality Act of 2019. And I found this letter, Pastors Sign Letter to Oppose the Equality Act of 2019. And I discovered that you're one of the signatories on this. This came out May 16th. And it says, we, the members of the CURE National Clergy Network, collectively write you a letter concerning H.R. 5, currently titled as the Equality Act. The Center for Urban Renewal and Education, CURE, is a 501c3 nonprofit policy institute based in Washington, D.C. Our organization works in three distinct areas of policy, media, and the National CURE Clergy Network. As an organization, we advocate for policy solutions that have a direct positive impact on communities, rife with social and economic struggle. Our media center engages with more than 4 million people, and our national clergy network encompasses influential clergy leaders, pastors, and bishops all across the country who engage their local community, reaching millions. We are writing to you on behalf of those Americans in opposition to H.R. 5, the Equality Act. Introduced to Congress in March, essentially it adds new terms, sexual orientation and gender identity, to the federal definition of sex in civil rights laws. The act would integrate gender ideology into federal law. Now, the letter states, as a byproduct, the act would further regulate thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and speech, issues surrounding pronoun usage, health care, transgender bathroom enforcement, and biological men competing in women's sports are deeply troubling. Of significance, in speaking as a nonprofit, the act could jeopardize charitable organizations, as the potential changes may violate an organization's principles and beliefs. There's more to that. Ralph Chittims, do you think the House cares?
Oh, clearly the House doesn't care. The House has proven that it is more interested in using identity politics and this new terminology that they have come up with called intersectionality as a way to gain power. This is all this is. This is a blatant attempt to grab power by further dividing Americans into these different categories, but then telling certain Americans, i.e. black people, that their needs have to come second in this quest for intersectionality where all oppressed people need to be treated fairly because, we're all victims here.
Well, I'm sorry, Ralph Chittums, did this not immediately whip into your wheelhouse just like it did me? One of the first things, again, after reading this was, my first phrase was something that Eric Arthur Blair, otherwise known as George Orwell, penned in Animal House when he wrote, hey, all animals are equal, except some animals are more equal than others.
Absolutely. And that's why, the left, these progressives, are masters at twisting language. Because, who wouldn't want to support the Equality Act? I mean,
right.
that sounds
right.
good. That's a good thing, isn't it?
Sure.
We want everyone to be treated equally and fairly. But then when you look at the details of this thing, this act is not about equality. This act is about carving out special rights and privileges to a selected class of individuals, which place their wants above the rights of all others. That's a complete violation of the Constitution.
Well, as you point out, here, I wrote this, and I've said it for quite some time. The left, as you point out, Ralph Chittums, are exquisite at what I term hijacking the language.
Absolutely.
And once you have, I said, once you had control of education, which leftists do, and SCOTUS, which they don't have anymore, and they're rebelling in that. That's that's a story for so many other shows. But encompassing that is also ensuring that you hijack and keep the language and make it your own and create new definitions for terms. I want to play just a few minutes of this. It's a YouTube video, and it's entitled Why Gender Pronouns Matter. And folks, passage of the Equality Act of 2019 could definitely have you moving in this direction, hijacking your very language.
Just because I may present more femme doesn't mean that I'm any less they, them.
Trans students, they explain why.
You know what, that thing where you're eating a meal, but you're not really eating a meal. You're
Pronouns
just kind of picking at food on the counter.
are important.
My family and I were doing that one night, and I just kind of looked at them and said, hey guys, I'm non-binary. I don't have a gender.
In my opinion, gender is a universe. It is a broad spectrum of planets and stars and sky that truly cannot be contained into a binary.
My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and that's a non-negotiable. And they were all kind of like, okay.
Okay, let's stop right there. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. Do you believe, Ralph Chittums, the potential exists for the Equality Act of 2019 as written if you fail to address whomever as their preferred pronouns? You could literally be in legal, lawful trouble. Is that a potentiality?
Well, it's an absolute clear potentiality. If you do not comply with the government-regulated speech, you would be guilty of a hate crime. You would be guilty of hate speech, and you could be prosecuted for speaking the truth. Now, I don't know where you went to school, but I know where I went to school. And where I went to school, they taught us, pronouns. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. That was it. And what the left is doing is they've taken this thing to a level where now they have said, no, those aren't the only pronouns. Now there are 37-some pronouns to comply with the 37-some different genders that they say exist on the planet. But here's my question to anyone. If you go to a cemetery and you dig up a skeletal remains of someone, and you take those remains to a forensic pathologist, the pathologist is going to look at those bones and they're going to make a determination. They are going to say male or female. They are not going to say cis. They are not going to say ziff. They're not going to say them. They are not going to say they. There are only two, male and female, period, end of discussion. But under this H.R. 5, if the Senate passes their version, if I tell you to refer to me as whatever, and you refer to me as he, because that's exactly what I am, a male, you could be prosecuted for hate speech. That is a fact.
That is a fact. Folks, this is the reason I wanted Ralph Chittums on tonight. He speaks the truth. What we're going to do is, let's see, I've got 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. There are 5 groups that I've identified that are going to be harmed. And I mean, folks, you must pay attention to this, that are going to be harmed if the so-called Equality Act of 2015 becomes law under the Senate. If the Senate, for whatever reason, pulls something weird out of their hat and installs this at law, you're going to find employers and workers are going to be affected on this. It's going to force employers and workers to conform to new sexual norms, or else they could potentially lose their businesses and jobs. And I don't mean this in an abstract sense. I mean you, listening right now, could potentially lose your job if you misgender someone. This is already happening, folks, on the state and local level.
Right. Well, look at the baker. Every homosexual, transgender, whatever group specifically goes into his bakery shop, asking him to do something that they know is going to violate his sincerely held religious beliefs, and they do it simply so they can initiate another lawsuit.
Yes. We'll get to that. I have that story, and I also want to have you, Ralph Chittums, weigh in on that. This went to the Supreme Court. There's another story that just came out this week about that. We'll address that issue. It's kind of a win, kind of not. We'll discuss that as well. But there are a number of people that are not just peripherally affected by this. Folks, this could be you. This could be your wife, your husband, your brother, your sister, your really good friend from work. All of this could be
colleges and universities, college students.
Yes.
Women in general, any organized religion, any nonprofit that has a religious foundation. This would, Obama talked about fundamentally changing America.
Oh, he wasn't kidding.
This would do it.
Oh, without a doubt. Absolutely. And again, sir, that is why I wanted you on tonight. Folks, we're going to take a break. We are speaking to Reverend Ralph Chittums, Sr. When we come back, I want to go more into how this would affect people. You mentioned the various bakers. I'd like to go into the bakery case. There are a couple of cases that just came out. I want to touch on the Supreme Court ruling that came out this week. And then we'll go into a number of stories that you would not believe, the situations, people, agencies, administrations, etc., that are potentially set to be not minimally affected by this, maximally affected by this. Folks, you're listening to BZ. I am the Bloviating Zeppelin on the SHR Media Network, and I will be back with my very special guest, Ralph Chittums, right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome back to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, live and direct from the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles east of the proverbial locus of evil on the entire West Coast, the Bill Mill, the Capitol building in Sacramento, Fornicalia, otherwise spelled California with a K, where late at night you can hear the death knell of common sense in screams issued from that Capitol building in Sacramento at 10th and L Street. And also, as I leave this building and go outside the studio, I can smell the odoriferous, terrible stench of evil in the form of sulfur and brimstone. Tonight, we have the wonderful Ralph Chittims. He hasn't been here in over a year and a half, and I'm ever so grateful to have him back. And we are talking and addressing tonight the issue of the Equality Act of 2019. And if you think that you will not be involved or affected in some fashion, I would say you might want to guess again, because there are many, many ways that this will be affecting people. We talked about employers and employees. We'll get to that in just a little bit more. Medical professionals. Well, how could this potentially affect medical professionals? The Equality Act is going to end up forcing hospitals and insurers to provide and pay for all sorts of therapies against any moral or medical objections. It's going to politicize medicine more than it has already by forcing all sorts of professionals to act against their best medical judgment and provide transition affirming therapies. And if you think it's already, if you think it's not here already, it is. Catholic hospitals in California, right here in my state, and also in New Jersey, they've been sued for declining to perform hysterectomies on otherwise healthy women who want to become male. There's a third Catholic hospital in Washington, state of, settled out of court with the ACLU when the ACLU sued them for declining to perform a double mastectomy on a gender dysphoric 16-year-old girl. And it goes on and on. Parents and children. The politicization of medicine is going to harm families by normalizing hormonal surgical interventions for what they call gender dysphoric children, as well as ideological education, education in air quotes, in schools and other public venues. It goes on and on and on.
And when it comes to the children, it's even worse, because if a child says something to a teacher or a counselor at school regarding some transgender feelings, the school system at that point can work with the child, minor, we're talking, 5, 6, 7-year-old children.
Yes.
The school, the government can step in and start working with that child towards a gender reassignment and not inform the parents.
Folks, if you think this isn't real, if you think this isn't here, if you think this isn't now, you're laboring under a massive misconception. And honestly, I must say, I don't know where you've been. Now, Ralph Chittims makes no bones about the fact that he's a reverend, he's a man of God, etc. But for those that aren't pastors, aren't reverends, and somehow you think that, oh, well, it's only these hyper-religious folks that are being affected by this stuff, and really it doesn't affect me at all. Oh, really? Have you ever been the focus of social media to the point like, oh, well, Ralph Chittims, you mentioned this man's name earlier. There's a guy who owns what is called the Masterpiece Cake Shop, and he was sued. He has been sued 3 times. Well, he's being sued again, just as you indicated, Ralph Chittims, for refusing to bake a gender transition cake. And the guy's name is Jack Phillips. He's a baker in Colorado. Now, he already prevailed in a religious liberty case before the Supreme Court last year, but that wasn't enough. That was insufficient for leftists and Democrats and the LGBT community. He's once again been sued, this time for refusing to bake a cake, celebrating a customer's gender transition. There's a transgender Colorado woman, Autumn Scardina. She filed a civil suit against Phillips, and just as Ralph Chittims indicated, they go there just to do that. On Wednesday, that was filed on Wednesday, when he refused to bake her a cake that was blue on the outside and pink on the inside in celebration of her transition. They know what it's not like they mistakenly walked into the Masterpiece Cake Shop and discovered at the last moment that, oh my God, Jack Phillips doesn't do this. Well, I'm personally taken aback. I must sue immediately. They know exactly what they're doing. Despite I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
And they probably had the legal papers drafted before they walked into the cake shop.
Yes, oh my, that deserves... Yes, absolutely. You can almost be guaranteed of that. Despite the fact the Supreme Court ruled last year that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission, that commission itself displayed what they termed anti-religious bias in finding that Phillips violated the state of Colorado's anti-discrimination laws by refusing to bake a cake for a gay wedding. So that decision gets handed down. The Civil Rights Commission brought another anti-discrimination complaint against Phillips over his refusal to bake a cake, celebrating now this gender transition. And when he says, this is what I would like your response and you to opine on this, Jack Phillips in response has said that he is specifically being singled out and persecuted due to his Christian beliefs. Is that true or not?
Well, I mean, we can't say, for 100% certainty that he's being targeted because, we're not there. But let's just look at the evidence as it's being presented to us, and let's just make some logical conclusions.
Yes.
If you know this guy is an evangelical, devout Christian, and you know that he has already refused to bake a cake celebrating a homosexual wedding, why are you going to go into this shop unless you are trying to make a political point?
That's
the only reason you would go in there.
There is see, and again, thank you for cutting edge philosophy and logic. Logic, it's just logical. If you don't like this guy and you don't like his philosophy, then why don't you just go to a cake shop, I don't know, a quarter of a mile away? I'm sure there are a ton of them in the area. But no, you have to make a point, a political and philosophical point, with this guy in that establishment, because as far as, and let me throw this out there, as far as leftists, what I call leftist Democrats, the LDAM, leftists, Democrats in the American media maggots, are concerned, they will not be satisfied until this man isn't just, sued. That's not enough. They will not be happy until he has suffered beyond suffering. They will not be happy until he is ruined, until he is bankrupted, until his name has been smeared, until his face can no longer appear in public, until his business has been bankrupted and no one ever again will fund any business that he wants to start. Am I speaking out of school with that, Ralph Chittims?
No, you're not. Ironically, I just came from Denver. I was in Colorado this past weekend. I flew out Friday and I flew back to D.C., landed 1:30 this morning. And it happened to be Pride weekend in Denver. And they proudly announced that this is the largest Pride festival in the Rocky Mountain region of the United States of America. There were homosexuals and bisexuals and people with gender dysphoria everywhere. There are shops all over Denver that would gladly have made this person a transition cake.
Certainly.
But no, they went into this shop because they want to destroy Phillips. Now, for those of you out there who are Star Trek fans, I have referred to the LGBTQIAP community,
I know where you're going,
as our present-day Borg.
Yes.
They're the Borg.
Yes, you will be assimilated.
The Borg's phrase where you will be assimilated.
Yes.
Or you will be destroyed. That is the mindset, that is the philosophy of this radical homosexual movement. You will be assimilated, you will conform, or you will be destroyed. Those are your options.
I could not have stated it better myself. That is why we are talking tonight to Reverend Ralph J. Chittims, Sr. I made reference earlier to a Supreme Court case, and sooner or later the Supreme Court is really going to have to address the issue. You can quantify this as a win. This is not a knockout by any means, and the issue is going to keep coming back. The article that I'm looking at right now, the headline is Supreme Court tosses ruling against bakers who refused cake for gay couple. But the devil is in the details, and I must make you aware of the details. Yesterday, the Supreme Court threw out a ruling against 2 Oregon bakers who refused to bake a wedding cake for a lesbian couple. At first glance, you're thinking, okay, that's pretty significant. Some of the details are the couple, Melissa and Aaron Klein, cited religious beliefs as their reason for not providing services for a gay wedding. And this touched off the latest in a series of such cases making headlines in recent years. Ralph, you and I just discussed a bunch of them. During the court's last term, justices ruled in favor of Jack Phillips, that Colorado baker, in a similar situation, saying that the state body demonstrated improper hostility toward the baker's religion in finding that he violated a state anti-discrimination law. But the situation is not wholly addressed, and it's going to revisit itself again, because here's the crux of the biscuit. Yesterday, on Monday, the Supreme Court sent the Klein case back down to a lower court for further consideration in light of the Colorado decision. The Supreme Court didn't take or accept this course. All it said was it pushed it down another level, and it said, essentially, you folks deal with it. We're not dealing with this right now, because the central dispute still continues to be LGBT rights against religious freedom considerations. And if you think that they have been ultimately addressed by the Supreme Court, I submit, no, they haven't.
No, they have not been. The Supreme Court has clearly punted on this by remanding it down to the lower court for them to revisit it. Absolutely. The Supreme Court has kicked the can down the road.
Yes. Now, this is interesting, Ralph Chittims. I didn't know this. I'm going to go over this. There's a similar case involving the state of Washington and a florist, Baronel Stutzman. And that case was previously sent back to the state of Washington court to review its decision against Stutzman in light of the Colorado bakers case. The Washington court upheld its decision. The case is expected to go back before the Supreme Court once again. So they're not wrangling. They're not facing the issue sooner or later. SCOTUS is going to have to make a decision clearly delineating one way or the other, whether it's 3-6, 5-4, whatever it turns out to be. It's going to have to actually make a decision sometime.
They are. They are going to have to make a decision, excuse me, because if they don't, we are going to continue to see the chipping away of religious freedom rights in this nation to the point where they are going to ultimately disappear. And it's not just religious institutions that are going to be negatively impacted.
Yes.
You know, as you've said repeatedly, and I'm sure we're going to get into this, we're talking about impacting everyday Americans who aren't even necessarily involved in anything political. They're just trying to go to school. They're just trying to go to the bathroom. They're just trying to, to live their lives. But this agenda is going to ultimately affect every single American and every facet of American life.
If no other reason, ladies and gentlemen, this is already going on in Canada. If for no other reason than it's going to affect your First Amendment. And If you think the potential speech police may not come out of this, I think you would be terribly, vastly wrong and incorrect. Ralph Chittims.
There's an assemblyman in California who is already contemplating introducing legislation regulating what pastors can say in their sermons when it comes to homosexuality.
Yes, it's funny you should mention that. Ralph Chittims, I have to tell you right now, you have to get out of my head, because right now there's only room in here for one of us. That's me, and it's really cluttered and very bad in here, because the very next article I had to talk to you about is exactly that. If you think it isn't occurring, well, folks, you'd be wrong, because it's occurring, just like Ralph said. In California, this from CBN, California lawmakers trying to force pastors to embrace pro-LGBT ideology. And here's the guy's name. California Assemblyman Evan Low, L-O-W, and 36 other lawmakers are pushing a resolution in the State Assembly Judiciary Committee in California that's aimed at telling religious leaders what they should preach from their pulpits.
Mm-hmm.
It's
right
here,
and they can't preach that homosexual behavior is sinful activity. That will become hate speech under this proposal by this Assemblyman Lowe in California. So the stage is already being set to force Christians into a Chinese reality, where we're going to have to worship in the basement of our home.
Yes.
Stick our head out of our storm cellars to make sure the police aren't around, and then come out, but completely hide the fact that Jesus is Lord whenever we're out in public. That's exactly where this is headed.
You're going to have a community of Anne Franks living in attics and basements, having to conduct services when they truly believe in God, certainly not in public. They're going to have to do it in private.
Right.
The California Family Council reports that Assembly Concurrent Resolution, ACR 99. If you want to find out whether I'm telling you the truth or not, go to your favorite search engine, California ACR 99. Calls on, this is a quote, counselors, pastors, religious workers, educators, and institutions with, quote, great moral influence to stop perpetuating the idea that something is wrong with LGBT identities or sexual behavior. ACR 99 condemns attempts to change unwanted same-sex attractions or gender confusion as unethical, harmful, and leading to high rates of suicide, which, oddly enough, happens to be the truth.
Yep. And and we talk about things like this, and people think that we are, that we're exaggerating, that we're being hyperbolic. No. These pieces of legislation, the way they are written, and this H.R. 5, the one point I really do want to make is the protections granted under the Religious Freedom and Restoration Act, which was signed back in the Clinton administration. All of those protections for religious institutions are eliminated. There are no carve-outs. There are no exemptions under H.R. 5, which passed the House, and the accompanying legislation that is currently with the Senate Judiciary Committee. There is no language in either of those bills providing any carve-outs or protections for any religious institution, organization, or practitioner. Period. End of discussion.
Now that's very interesting, Ralph Chittims, because during the break you were in the chat room, and you are now, and I was conducting a conversation with a number of people in chat who were saying, gosh, I wonder if Islam will be cut a break because of this, because we all know that Islam is not a great fan of the LGBT community in the Middle East version. As practice, they're fond of tossing homosexuals off of roofs. We have the physical evidence to prove that. So is this then, one of my first questions, is this one of the biggest first conflicts that we may potentially see between Islam as practiced as a whole in the Middle East and the leftists and Democrats? This could be, oh my, Ralph Chittums, this could be a big problem.
This is where it's going to get interesting.
Yes.
Because of this concept that the leftists have come up with that they call intersectionality.
Yes.
Where all of these different affinity groups all come together and they all work together for each other's benefit for the good of society. Well, the way this bill, H.R. 5, is written, it is going to come into direct conflict, not just with Christianity,
yes,
with Judaism, and with Islam. So now the question is going to be, because he's also some interesting, just a sidebar, how come no one ever goes into a halal bakery and asks them to make a homosexual wedding cake?
Yes.
So it's not that the law doesn't apply. It's that in this universe of intersectionality that the Democrats have created, their only boogeyman is Christianity, and they leave Judaism and Islam alone when it comes to this particular issue.
Yeah, funny how that works out, isn't it, Ralph Chittums? Very odd. Difficult to discern. One point...
But technically, under the law, yes, Islam and Judaism would also be, any practitioner of those two faiths would also run afoul of H.R. 5 if they taught the traditional teachings of those faiths. Marriage between a man and a woman. Homosexuality is, sinful behavior. All three of those major faiths teach that. It's primary tenet in all three. And under this law, all three will be considered hate speech.
It's very interesting because the state of the art right now is such that activists they're going to look, absent pushback, and oh gosh, I got about another minute, so I'm going to have to rush this. Absent pushback, activists they're pushing their own radical protocols, social transition as young as 4, puberty blocking drugs for kids as young as 9, cross-sex hormones for kids as young as 14, and surgery by 18 or younger.
But also, one thing I just wanted to get this in, women especially need to be very, very wary of this H.R. 5 and the Senate bill, because our young girls are going to lose out on college scholarship opportunities.
Yes.
They're going to lose out on opportunities to compete, nationally and internationally for medals, because these guys who claim to be girls are going to be taking their spots. They're going to be claiming their championships. They're going to be taking their scholarships. They're going to be getting their gold medals. There was a guy who in 17 was a 200 ranked sprinter. In 16 he was 200, 17 he was 390, in 18 he transitioned, and in 19 he became the Division II women's track champion.
Yeah. Imagine that. Oh, we didn't see that coming.
Right. You want to talk about a war on women? This right here is the real war on women.
And as far as the LGBT community is concerned, you and I, people of religion, we're just going to have to take a big cup of just be quiet and shut up. And, hey, women, you're going to have to take a big cup of, hey, be quiet too, because you don't matter and you're not concerned.
Right. So much for Title IX.
Yeah, so much for Title IX. Folks, we've been listening to Ralph Chittums. First thing I should have said, but I will say it now, is you've been awake today since 1:30 a.m. your time. It is now 9 o'clock my time on the left coast, which means it is midnight where you are in D.C., which is absolutely insane. So if for no other reason, Ralph Chittums, thank you ever so kindly for being here. It's been one long day for you, sir. Thank you very, very kindly.
It was my pleasure, and this was a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much.
Thank you kindly. May I ask you back into the saloon in the future, sir?
Anytime. Just let me know.
Thank you ever so kindly. Wow.
All right, God bless.
God bless you, sir. Take care. Get some sleep. Oh, gosh. Okay. Ralph Chittum's. We'll be right back after this. And if you feel like calling in, folks, yeah, I would advise you to call in because, boy, have I got article after article after article and information and some happy stories for you.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to me. I'm the Bloviating Zeppelin, right here in the Saloon, the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And somebody's calling in, so just hang on for a second. As soon as we get through this. Hey, I want you folks, if you can, follow me on Twitter at BZEP, B-Z-E-P. You can like me and follow me on Facebook at Bloviating Zeppelin. You can friend and follow and like the SHR Media Facebook page and subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. What you do is you click notifications, give our videos a thumbs up, baby, a thumbs up. Great hosts, great videos, great shows. I'm also on Big Sarge Media, so please click like, friend, and follow me there. Follow Big Sarge on Big Sarge Media on Facebook. I was going to go to a Ron Edwards minute, but I'll tell you what, we've got somebody on right now, and I said, hey, call in. By the way, the number, if you folks are interested in calling in, because I've got a ton of topics that I'm going to go through for the rest of the show. If you want to call, 209-284-3210. 209-284-3210. I really should put that in the... Well, I will when I get through and I'm talking to this new person here. I'll put the number into the chat room. And I also want to remind everybody, I'm sorry, there's just one of me. I have no producer. I'm it here late at night. So I can only monitor one chat room. So I monitor the chat room at shrmedia.com. shrmedia.com. Come on over to the chat room. There's a ton of people over there. They're great folks. Swear to God, they don't bite. They're kind. They're considerate. Anybody that is up right now listening to me, you know they got to be kind and considerate in the first place. So, caller, what do you have to say? Go ahead and let us have it.
Ha! BZ. Hello, sir. Yeah, this is Dave Milner. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy, and how are you this evening?
I am great, and I need to emphasize, folks, if you're not watching UBG, the Unpleasant Blind Guy, then shame on you, because Dave Milner is the Unpleasant Blind Guy with this qualification. Yeah, he's blind. He's legally blind. But I find him truly not that unpleasant.
Well, I appreciate that, BZ. Listen, I won't take up a lot of your time. I'll just tell you that, first of all, Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is an excellent guest. We've had him on EDL Radio.
Oh, he's great.
And he is so spun up on so many subjects that he's an asset anytime he comes on anybody's show. He's always a great get. And I just want to re-emphasize what he said in some cases and throw that qualifier in too, because we were discussing this in chat. No, there will be, in this quote-unquote Equality Act, there will be no special carve-outs for anyone. No one's going to get any special exceptions. But I am a part of the English Defense League radio show and have been for 6 years. And that is hosted by Jeff Mitchell, and it comes out of the United Kingdom. And they have religious equality laws over there, plenty of them, and speech equality laws and everything. And there are no carve-outs for anyone. Nobody gets a break in the law. It all applies to everybody, except when it comes to enforcement. Then suddenly, wait, hold up. Oh, gee, Glorioski, if it's someone on the right, the boot goes in hard.
Yes.
If it's a Christian, the boot goes in hard. But if it's a lefty or if it's a Muslim, they just have mental issues. We're not going to jail them for hate speech. As yes, you can be jailed for hate speech over there. That is happening. We're not going to give them a tremendous fine. We're going to send them off to counseling. But I mean, otherwise, it's perfectly okay that they went and screamed in the face of an infant in a stroller. Yes, that did happen. A Muslim did that to a non-Muslim infant. It's perfectly okay that they went up to someone else and a non-Muslim and screamed at them that this wasn't their country. Okay, that's perfectly fine, and that they said that they were a pig because they ate pork. Perfectly fine. They just have mental issues. So this is the rub. Everyone who's listening to this and thinking, oh, well, these righties that are against this Equality Act, they're just a bunch of Mr. Hater McHateface. No, that's not what it's about. That's never what it's about. Take a look at how these things are enforced. Hate speech laws, religious discrimination laws, all of these, not just in the UK, but in Europe. Take a look at those, and you will get a different slant on this quote-unquote Equality Act.
Or they'll do what they mostly do in a number of cases, is just ignore it. Well, we don't have to pay any attention to this. By the way, Dave, I'm still back at Mr. Haty McHaterton McHateface.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise known as Haty McHateface.
Yeah.
No, that was an actual glitch that was involved with the closed captioning. That a friend of mine was watching a movie. I'll be quick about this. It was a movie about Babyface Nelson. It was one of those 30s gangster movies.
Right.
And instead of that, the closed captioning called him Haty Face Nelson.
Haty Face.
That's where that goes from.
It's too bad they didn't call him Mick Haty Face. Although I know this to be a fact. The UK about a year or two ago put out a contest for, I think, a new boat or a new ship in the UK. And it was either an icebreaker or something like that. And they said, hey, UK people, send in your name and we'll name the boat, and whatever name wins, we will name the boat what you've chosen. The name that was chosen was Boaty McBoatface.
That's right. Yes, that is correct. That
Isn't
is correct.
Isn't
man.
it weird, all the strange crap you think about in the middle of the damn night when you're doing a radio show?
Oh, that's true, But listen, I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and I'm not going to waste any more of your time telling you that I'm not going to waste any more of your time.
Okay.
Except just to say that, hey, you're right. Ralph is right. And, man, I cannot wait to see you on the 18th of July. That is going to be space trucking, brother. All right. God bless you, man.
All right. Take care. I'm going to make reference to that. And what Dave Milner's talking about is on D-Day, on the 6th of June, just about a week or so ago, Kaiser Schuff and I did a show about D-Day. And he was my co-host for the night, and I had cut after cut, audio cut, essentially providing to everybody an historical observation in audio about D-Day. And I plan to do the same thing on the 18th of July next month, because the 20th, July 20th, 1969 is when we landed on the moon. July 20th of 2019 is the 50-year anniversary. My God, has it been 50 years? And the answer is yeah, it sure has. So I have decided that, like D-Day, I'm going to produce and assemble a show, 2 hours of nothing about a tribute and celebration of the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. And you will hear things in terms of history that I can pretty much guarantee that you've never heard before. I am in the process of assembling the show. Dave Milner, like Kaiser Schuff was on D-Day, is going to be my co-host for the show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The other thing that I want to emphasize about that week, the week of July 16th, is also Matthew Betley is coming out with his 4th book, Rules of War, and it's coming out on July the 16th, which is Tuesday. And Matthew Betley has agreed to be on my show the same day that his book is released. And he just went to a brand new large agent, and Matthew has, I believe, an announcement that he wants to make on the show. I highly recommend, if you like suspense, military-type action on the order of, say, Tom Clancy, except with just double the action or triple the action of that, then you want to read Matthew Betley's books. So he's going to be on that Tuesday night, the 16th. That Thursday night, the 18th, will be the 50th anniversary celebration of the moon landing right here by myself. The Bloviating Zeppelin right here in the Saloon, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And also, folks, I haven't announced it again recently, but if you want to call in, 209-284-3210. 209-284-3210. In the meantime, I keep telling Ron I'm going to do this, so Ron Edwards, I am going to honor what I've said.
If leftists in California have their way, the Golden State will forever be tarnished. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards on today's page from the Edwards Notebook. Not that long ago, California symbolized a sense of youthful optimism. She was a magnet for those seeking a better opportunity. Her cities were one-time symbols of great civility, especially San Francisco, which was one of the 5 most beautiful cities on earth. Unfortunately, those of the political left, whose longtime goal has been to collapse our beloved republic, have taken full control of the political reins in that state and are furiously working to literally destroy her via sanctuary cities, being overrun by illegal border crossers, of course, and Skid Row bums. Former Attorney General Eric the Red Holder once made reference to utilizing California as an example of how to collapse America as a whole in order to advance the political agenda of the left, which includes the elimination of free speech, freedom of thought, and opportunities for all, replacing them with misery and godless government control from cradle to grave. My fellow Americans, I believe we shall overcome such madness, but there is no time to waste. Join me Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on AmericaMatters.us. I'm Ron Edwards.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America.
I told Ron that I will play the Ron Edwards Notebook whenever I get a new one, and I got one, so it was time to play that. And again, folks, hey, look at all the people I got now. The Alaskan, Mike, Jack, Dave, Simone, and 1 viewer. So welcome to everybody in chat. Again, I emphasize, if you want to be in the chat room, shrmedia.com, shrmedia.com. And if you want to call in, 209-284-3210. I discovered this courtesy of a gentleman by the name of Alan Thomas, who has been in the show before. He's a Bigfoot researcher and hunter. He's a paranormal investigator, an unexplained and UFO investigator. And while looking at some of his stuff on social media, I came across this. And what he had said to me is this, and I thought when he told me this that he was full of dog poop. But I found out for myself, well, it's absolutely true. Did you know, and were you aware of the fact that here's my phone, that by taking, if your phone is open to Facebook, and mine is not right now because I've already done it, but if you're holding your phone in your hand and it's open on Facebook, if you shake your phone like this, did you know that you may be reporting yourself or your friends and subjecting them to Facebook censorship or jail? I thought when Alan Thomas told me this that he was full of crap, but he's not. I did it myself, and when it popped up, it said, report a problem. Your feedback helps us improve Facebook. And essentially it said, shake to report a problem. And you get to say, oh, something's not working. Or you get abusive content. Or you get general feedback. Now, you also have a button, if you do that, to turn that off. So, yes, Simone, Facebook makes you complicit in potentially reporting yourself or your friends, depending on where you are on Facebook. If you happen to be on a particular post, maybe it's your own post. Maybe it's on a post of a good friend of yours. And for whatever reason, I don't know, I'm not you, you shake your phone like this if you're watching on video, if you're watching on Big Sarge Media, on the Big Sarge Media Facebook, or the SHR Media Facebook page, or the SHR Media YouTube channel if you're watching. You shake while you've got Facebook open like this, it's going to ask you if you want a problem, or if you have a problem. So don't be shocked if you tell it, essentially, that you're reporting abusive content. And you might be doing it on yourself. And for those of you who says, oh, no, that's not right. Well, the reason I'm bringing it to you tonight is because I didn't believe that until I did it. And then I figured out, well, as a matter of fact, yeah, that is correct. At least when you get to that particular page, you have the option of turning that off. It's a little button where you can slide it left or slide it right. But if you leave it on when you're on Facebook, don't be surprised if you end up essentially reporting yourself or your good friend. And Facebook loves that, particularly if you're a conservative and you're reporting yourself. Oh, goody, you can go to Facebook jail or be on Facebook probation. Ooh, how exciting. Oh, gosh. You know what I haven't done in a while? And I do have a couple of these. I haven't done this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's something that I didn't see coming at all. And I'm a fan of this group. I don't know if you guys know anything about heavy metal, but there's a group called Tool. And there's a lead singer, the guy that used to be I don't even know if Tool is around anymore. But there's a guy that used to be their lead singer or created the band, and he's called Maynard James Keenan. And he came out in an article that I'm reading from NME.com where the headline says, Tool's Maynard James Keenan. Trump is not your enemy. Your enemy is ignorance. Color me gobsmacked. Tool frontman Maynard James Keenan told the crowd that Trump is not the enemy at a recent live show, adding, your enemy is ignorance. Absolutely true. Keenan had previously joked during an interview that Trump is late comedian Andy Kaufman in this guy's. That's the name of the comedian I was trying to think of earlier with Ralph Chittum's. Andy Kaufman. Okay. He told the audience at his band's New York show on Sunday that was June 4th. I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. And I'm just going to tell you both of them at the same time. Fox News, Huffington Post, The Left, The Right, Trump, Breitbart, Facebook. None of these things are your enemy. Your enemy is ignorance. That's the fight. If you disagree with that, well, then this next song is for you. Here's another happy story for you. This is from KLTV, which happens to be in Texas. The headline goes this way. Governor Greg Abbott signs lemonade stand law so kids' drink stands can't be shut down. Stop. This is a new story. This came out just June 10th. So this isn't something that people are pulling out of their butts, etc. We've gotten to the point in America where we have to create laws so that various government entities don't interfere with a kid trying to sell lemonade on the corner or in front of their house. Because governments have gotten involved in that and literally shut down and or fined kids selling lemonade. How stupid is that? The story goes, East Texas. Governor Greg Abbott has been signing laws in recent days, but one he signed Monday will likely be the favorite among Texas children. It's a lemonade stand law. Abbott called it the common sense law, no kidding, that had to be passed so that police would not shut down children's lemonade stands. The bill was introduced by Fort Worth Republican State Representative Matt Krause. It proposed the sale of lemonade and other non-alcoholic beverages on private property and in public parks would be allowed. It would also prevent homeowners associations from drafting rules that would prevent neighborhood lemonade stands. It was sent to the governor, who signed it with a bit of humor, ending his video with, "Cheers." By the way, would it shock you to know that I have audio of that video? No, it shouldn't shock you at all.
Here is a common sense law. It allows kids to sell lemonade at lemonade stands. We had to pass it because police shut down a lemonade stand here in Texas. So kids,
there it is.
Cheers.
Cheers. How stupid is that we have to sign something? Here's another happy story. This is I guess you could call him a Gen Zer, who voted for Donald Trump in 2016. And he says he's going to vote for him in 2020. This is a young dude with long hair. He says his biggest issue is illegal immigration. And he says he's voting for Trump because Democrats choose illegal aliens over American citizens. Well, oddly enough, that happens to be the truth.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Pressler. I voted for President Trump in 2016. Here we are 2.5 years later, and how do I feel? We have a booming economy, a 3.2% GDP, manufacturing jobs are up, and in fact, there are more jobs than there are workers to fill those jobs. President Trump is securing our border and working with Mexico to make sure that their border is cutting down on illegal immigration. And President Trump is working on trade deals with Mexico and Canada. Congress needs to pass the USMCA to protect our American jobs and our workers. President Trump has kept many of his promises, including no TPP, the Keystone Pipeline, no NAFTA, and putting the American people first. I'm proudly voting for President Trump on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. And for me, the biggest reason why I'm voting for Trump and why I'm voting Republican is because my allegiance is to the American people.
Thank you.
I think it's unconscionable that we have 50,000 homeless veterans and that there are people in our country who are not getting the care that they need, but Democrats choose illegal aliens over us. Democrats give sanctuary cities to illegal aliens over us. I am voting for President Trump because my allegiance is to the red, white, and blue. My allegiance is to the United States of America.
And guess what? Oh, by the way, would you like another happy story? Thank you, sir. Can I have another? This is from lifenews.com. Oh, no. Abortion clinics closing at a record pace as more babies are saved from abortions. I've said this to you for quite some time. Conservatives fall into certain groups. There are social conservatives, there are fiscal conservatives, there are small government conservatives, there are military conservatives. I was pretty much all of that, and I really didn't think that much about the social issues until Democrats pushed the issue to the point. And I saw the movie about Gosnell, but they pushed the issue to the point where they've decided, well, an hour or two before birth or at birth, you can kill a child. And until it's born, well, it's not really a child. Are you kidding me? And Margaret Sanger, people, you're a moron if you don't know who Margaret Sanger was. If you're a leftist, particularly if you're a black woman or a black male and you embrace abortion, you're helping Margaret Sanger, who was the biggest racist in the early 1900s than you could possibly envision. She wanted genocide for blacks, period, end of statement. That's the kind of person that's pushing for abortions. So I was dragged kicking and screaming into becoming a social conservative to the point where this is so reprehensible and disgusting. Now I'm seeing a story like this. And like Chief Dan George says, my heart soars like an eagle. Well, I'll tell you what, I think my heart is going to have to do some soaring pretty much right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's the final 25. The final 25 minutes of the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. You can find me and follow me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. You can like me and follow me on my Facebook page, Bloviating Zeppelin, and you can also like us, follow us on the SHR Media YouTube channel. I was telling you about the abortion clinics closing at a record pace as more babies are saved from abortions, and I told you why I found that kind of interesting, and I told you why I was a social conservative, or I should say why I am now a social conservative. But in the meantime, welcome unidentified caller, and thanks for calling into the show.
Well, good evening, BZ in chat room. It's Simone.
Well, Simone, great to hear you. I have to ask you, are you a left coaster or a right coaster? Because it all depends on when you have to go bitty bye.
Well, I have to tuck the kids in a few minutes. They get to stay up a little late tonight. So I'm on the left coast, but I'm more of a right coast thinker.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, just like I say, I'm right thinking from a left brain.
There you go.
On my blog. So what brings you here tonight, the glorious Simone? Thanks for calling. This is the second time you've called into the show. And I should tell you that every time you do, Dave says that you are a great caller. You get kudos when you call in.
Well, what helps me is the fact that you keep putting your phone up in the chat room every so often, because I didn't write it down.
Oh,
so
okay.
Good
to know.
It made it easier to call.
Good to know. I will continue to do that. And it's probably because when you're in the chat room, the chat only scrolls up and down so far. Isn't that why?
Yeah, that's part of it. Plus, it's kind of fun to be in chat. It's a great bunch of people in chat. I always enjoy them. They're very kind. They are always good to pass me the beer nuts when I walk in. And they've got my chair saved for me, so it's a fun group.
Well, the other thing that I'd like to point out for people that are listening but are not in the chat room right now, we invite you to come because the chat room has been completely renovated since early this year. We have a 500-gallon saltwater fish tank in there with beautiful, beautiful, colorful fish for you to look at while you're waiting, while you're engaged in the chat room. And we also have the new leather couches and leather chairs, which are made of fine Corinthian leather. Everything is color coordinated and matched. Carpet on the walls to keep things quiet when you want to call or when you just want to concentrate on being in the chat room. So thanks for being in the chat room,
And I
folks.
also like those little lights, what are they called? I don't remember. The ones with the blobs that go up and down.
Oh, lava lamps, right.
There you go, lava lamps.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the lava lamps you have in the bar.
Yes, we have lava lamps in the chat room. Thank you very much for pointing that out. I greatly appreciate that. People don't realize that.
I know. It takes a special talent to do that.
It does, thank you. And there's one in the
Yeah,
studio.
Dave, we're going to keep that under our hat.
Yeah. Wait, Dave just said we won't mention the leather room in the back. Well, it's where I store my leather furniture. That's all it is. And by the way, Dave, how did you get the key to that? Because that door is mostly locked. I just want to tell
friends.
you.
Clyde helps us out.
Well, apparently so. It's too bad Whiskey Dale isn't here tonight. Okay, in the view that I have right now, if you're watching on video, if you're looking at the video of the show directly above my hat, you can see Clyde. Clyde is the honorable Bobcat in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. So if you think that there isn't an actual Bobcat, if you go to the show right now, you'll see Clyde. And in promos for the show, that's Clyde too. So there really is, honest to God, there is a Bobcat of the Bobcat Saloon. Just thought I'd tell you.
Right, and he must be a Berserk Bobcat too.
Well, of course, that's why he's in the saloon. And he's named Clyde. I didn't name him. I think Sean named him. Somebody in the chat room named him. Something like that. Somebody named Clyde, and it wasn't me.
And I guess I came too late to catch Mary. She probably came and left, but I had to work late and run errands, so sorry to be late to the chat room.
That's
everyone.
okay. I haven't seen Mary. Actually, I haven't seen Mary for probably a week or two.
Aw, oh, she's okay.
Yeah,
I miss her.
I know.
She's good people.
I know, it's true.
And she's good about sharing the beer nuts, which is what I like.
Well, yes, and it's not just the beer nuts. You know, folks, just to let you know, I've recently added cashews and macadamia nuts. I know, because I bought a jar, a little plastic container of macadamia nuts the other day, and macadamia nuts cost $10. So I just want to let people know there are actual macadamia nuts in the chat room. I know you're shocked. But they really do exist. Just saying. Hashtag.
So the one thing I wanted to talk about real quick, and then I want to leave room for other callers, is I liked the guy that you played his tape about he's voting for the president because he's helping Americans.
Right.
And I mentioned, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And it's, it's so shocking. I doubt that they say that in schools anymore. We used to have to say that at all our public assemblies. Used to have to say that before graduation. The Board of Supervisors used to say that before their meetings. And now, it tells you everything you need to know when, you can't talk about God and you can't talk about the United States because both of those are bad things. And it's frustrating. I'm a first generation or American. My parents were actually born and raised in Mexico City.
Ah, okay.
But we integrated. My grandmother learned how to speak English. My mother came to America when she was a teenager, and she was adopted by my grandfather, who was an Irishman. And can you imagine being raised in a country all your life till you're like in whatever the middle grade is, 11th grade or 12th grade, in one language, and then going to another country and having to graduate your final year in a completely different language? That's what my mother had to do. She had to learn English in her senior year. So we fully integrated. My parents were very Americanized. My grandmother became a naturalized citizen.
Good.
And it's just shocking to me, and I don't know whether it's because I'm a first-generation American and I value it more, or I don't know. I don't get what's going on. I don't mind people immigrating lawfully.
Right.
Following the process, but it scares me what's going on. And when they're flooding the borders like that, one, you have no control over who's coming in with people that are that actually need protection, political protection. You have all the criminals just rushing in and the drug guys rushing in, and then the United States is not set up like Syria or Africa or other countries for health care. Whenever there's a disease outbreak, the UN goes there, and all sorts of doctors, what do they call them, doctors on the plane or doctors, whatever, Doctors United, they all go there, and they're giving everybody all their shots and everything. That's not happening for us. We have this huge intake of people who are bringing their diseases with them, and then because of crowded conditions, we have our own citizens living homeless on the streets, creating, disease conditions, and we'd rather take care of illegal crossers than our own citizens, many of whom are veterans who served us, that's just such a travesty. It's a sin. It's disgusting.
It's funny you should mention that. There is, in fact, a new migrant surge at the border. The New York Times covered this. PBS covered this. The Washington Examiner covered this. We've got Border Patrol agents that are falling prey to illnesses that are plaguing all those migrant holding centers. The centers that people are complaining about, but Congress won't provide any money to expand or increase, or Congress has decided, no, we're not going to help President Trump, and yet we're going to complain about it. We're also discovering that we're having a major exfiltration of people from countries such as Congo, which is known as being an Ebola-borne country, coming into the United States, and these people are making it through. When we're talking about The resurgence of diseases in Los Angeles, things that we thought that we'd eliminated 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago that I was vaccinated for in the 1950s, for example.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing up vaccinations, too, because we have a whole bunch of people. I'm only aware of the ones in California, but they're anti-vaxxers, and so these anti-vaxxers are now exposing their unvaccinated children to an influx of diseases.
Yes, and Los Angeles is Dr. Drew Pinsky. I don't know if you guys knew what his last name was. I always laugh at it when, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at his last name, Pinsky. I'd have to be a kid and go through high school or grade school being named Pinsky. Better than Pinksky, I guess. But Dr. Drew has said during the summer when it gets hot, Los Angeles is going to go through a potential typhoid epidemic. We eliminated typhoid decades ago. Hep A, Hep B, Hep C, tuberculosis. All the diseases that we worked for decades to eliminate are coming back because, by the way, did you know, folks, there is absolutely no zip, zero the null set rodent control program in the city of Los Angeles?
Well, that's because if there was, there wouldn't be any Democrats if it was under rodent control.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. That's the best comment of the night. So, Simone, you get... Well played, Simone. Well played.
And one other thing real quick. So it's not only human diseases that happen when you have uncontrolled immigration from any border, from Canada, from the coast, from wherever. Mm-hmm. We have to realize, thanks, Dave, you have to realize that animals also get diseases. And so, California is the kind of a breadbasket to the rest of the world. We produce a lot of dairy. We produce a lot of groceries. We produce a lot of cows, a lot of beef. I know the Midwest does a lot of beef. Well, and, New Mexico, all the southern states there produce beef. And tuberculosis is a disease that there's two kinds. There's bovine and human tuberculosis, and both are contagious to each other.
Wow.
So a person can give a cow human tuberculosis, and a cow can give a human bovine tuberculosis. So, and the other thing that's going on right now in Southern California is they have exotic Newcastle disease, which was eradicated from the state of California, I want to say like 15 years ago, and it's back, and they've been fighting it for a year now. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So anyway, just something else to put in everybody's thought process. Not just the humans, it's the animals. And if you get rid of our food source, I guess we're all going to become vegetarians unless the pigs run through the lettuce and poop on it, and then we all get E. coli.
Which is, anyway, by the way, how you get E. coli.
Thanks for letting me call in, BZ. Yeah, exotic Newcastle disease. It's a disease of it's like avian influenza. It's like a bird disease, and the birds look like they have the flu. They have runny noses in their eyes, and it's hard for them to breathe, and they eventually die. So they've been eradicating. There's a state and federal agencies have been down there, not only eradicating the commercial flocks, but doing quarantines in neighborhoods and taking people's peacocks, people's pet roosters, people's pet turkeys, people's cockatoos, all that, and eradicating them. So it's dangerous, and how sad that people are losing their pets. And our commercial ability for food, right now it happens to be birds, but could be beef at some point. So that worries me too, because I'm a carnivore, and I like my meat still on the hoof.
Yes.
So it needs to be healthy beef. Anyway, I'll get off the phone. Thanks, BZ, for letting me call in, and hi to chat.
Well, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. That was Simone. Funny thing is, I happen to know a little bit about END, exotic Newcastle disease, which is essentially just like Dave pointed out in chat, bird flu. But you wonder how it's proliferating and spreading? I'm not supposed to be telling you this, and it's not politically correct. But who's spreading this? Well, let me be very blunt and very specific. It's the Hispanic community and the Asian community, which keep birds in their backyard. And oh, by the way, they bet on them. cocks, fighting birds, and they gamble and wager on these things. And when they discover that various agencies are coming for their birds because you can't not do anything about it, well, apparently in Los Angeles and Southern California, they've decided to let this go for so long that it's gotten to the point where it's potentially going to affect and infect commercial herds where you get your chicken. And just like Simone said, well, I guess we could all be vegetarians, except now I'm hearing complaints that all these veggie burgers, there aren't enough veggie burgers to go around. You didn't hear, or I should say, you heard it here first. Again, PC, California, spelled with a K, is afraid of upsetting the delicate sensibilities of illegals, Hispanics, and Asians cockfighting, which, by the way, in California is still illegal under the penal code, but trample very carefully. Be very, very careful. These are unique species. I mean the Asians, and I mean also the Hispanics. These are very unique species, and we can't offend them. You can't offend them. So go ahead, mystery caller. We have somebody else calling in as well.
Hello, BZ.
Is this Mike?
This is Mike.
Mike,
yes,
how you doing?
Is.
How you doing? What do you got to say, sir?
You know, I'm surprised. Simone mentioned the rats and the disease. I'm surprised we haven't had outbreaks of disease in Washington, D.C., because there's a bunch of rats there, too. So, yeah, you know.
Yeah, funny how that works out.
Really? I mean, think about it. Now, I know you haven't touched on this, and you probably, I don't want to Bigfoot if there's going to be a chat show tomorrow, but OMB had his announcement tonight.
Yes, he did.
He announced he's running for president again.
Yes.
You know, and boy, he took some shots. I'm watching CNN, and they're going, and they stopped right at the point at which he started to go after the media, and he said, and they're going, well, this is going to hurt him going after the media like this, and not sticking to the bullet points on the teleprompter about the economy and this, that, and the other.
Not sure.
Well, what's one of the things that won him the election? Him going after the media.
Yes.
That shows how out of touch these people are on CNN.
Well, as we all know, CNN is hemorrhaging viewers by the ton. Rachel Madcow on MSNBC is hemorrhaging viewers as she has not picked up the viewership. She lost her viewers, oddly enough, and this should come as no shock, when the Mueller report turned out to be essentially unmitigated crap, and she never got her viewers back again. And it's pretty much the same with CNN. The ratings on CNN are right up there with this new, by the way, if you guys have Dish or Dish Network, or Hughes Satellite, or if you have DirecTV, I can't remember the channel, but there's a new channel called the Tibetan Bell Ringing Channel. And now the Tibetan Bell Ringing Channel is getting greater ratings than CNN. Remember, you heard it here first in the Saloon.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's when you know your ratings are that low. And look, there's no way. I mean, I understand how these things work, and these channels work, and they're probably funded up the wazoo for the next several years. But in general, when ratings are that low for your station, you're going to go under at some point.
Yeah, well, it can't happen too fast for a lot of other people. Mike, thanks for calling in. I got 5 minutes left in the show. So thanks for being here tonight, Mike. Appreciate it, sir. Okay, that was Mike. Thanks very much. I'm going to finish up this, and I got to figure out the final article for the night. Anyway, I was telling you about a happy story. Abortion clinics closing at a record pace as more babies are saved from abortions. There's a new report that paints a very hopeful picture for unborn babies in America. Abortion clinics are closing at a record pace across the country. Oddly enough, as they fail to meet new health and safety requirements for the demand for their business drops, according to a Bloomberg analysis. Well, wait, if they're not making this health and safety requirement regulations established for a medical facility, then why were they open in the first place? That's just sort of a basic question that I have in terms of common sense. This, I find, this may be the last story. This falls into the category of schadenfreude, as I frequently mention here in the show. I love this story. It's kind of bad, but it's also pretty good. The headline goes like this. Sanctuary City sues Trump administration over arrival of too many immigrants. Wait a minute. Sanctuary City sues the Trump administration over the arrival of exactly what they wanted? Well, apparently that's true. Albuquerque, New Mexico. The state of New Mexico and the sanctuary city of Albuquerque have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration for releasing too many immigrants into the state's border cities. Astounding. The lawsuit, which was filed in U.S. District Court for the District of New Mexico Monday, alleged that President Trump's administration has enacted, quote, an indiscriminate practice of releasing migrants in communities. Oh, my God. Astounding. And what Dave said in chat, yeah, I echo that too, right here. A bit of a programming note. I have it on good authority that Sackheads Clint is going to be here tomorrow night. So allegedly, there will be a chat show tomorrow night. Then further, I do know this for a fact, this Thursday night, I will have a brand new guest by the name of Earl Jackson. Would it shock you that he's a conservative from Texas, loves guns and the NRA? Oh, he's a black dude too. Yeah, I just want you to know, they really do exist. They, in terms of Z, Zip, Zap, Zer, Zoop, and Zop. I'm not making this up.
Monsieur has been locked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon right here, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. If you want to contact me, you'll find me on Twitter at BZEP at BZEP and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Thanks to Big Sarge Media for simulcasting my show. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by Pratt & Whitney Engines. Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony tonight. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. T-shirts with that are soon to be on sale in the Zepworks. My thanks to guest Ralph Chittams Sr. tonight for being the primary guest in Hour 1. Thanks to you for being in chat. Thanks to everybody listening in podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you taking the time out of your busy day to be here tonight. God bless. Take care. Be safe. Chat show. Sackheads tomorrow night.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.